All right, what's up, y'all? We're live here. We have Big Shot, Hot Shot, Hollywood Hot Shot, Shit Talker, Comic, Samuel P. Tripoli the Third joins us. Now, he has told me that, what do you call it? StreamYard is retardo proof. So we will utilize StreamYard in the future because we won't have all these retardo problems. So thank you to Mr. Tripoli.
Dude, I swear to you, man, you take it. It will let you, I almost want to hit him up going, dude, you guys give me money and I'll spread the word, because everybody I talk to, I'm always like, you got to try StreamYard, dude. You got to try StreamYard. It's just so easy. You send somebody the email, they click in, they're on the screen. And what's really cool about it is that it can go on your YouTube or whatever. But when anybody and this is me typing, by the way, if anybody comments on the video, if you can it shows up on the side screen. You could hit it and it will show up on the screen. So it's almost like Jimmy Kimmel's mean tweets. You ever see that? Where that's how it is. It's pretty cool, man.
All right, we'll look into that. Can everybody hear Sam good? Looks like it. Sounds like everybody's listening. All right, we got a growing. We'll have about 300 or 400 people here in a moment. Sam, let's talk about you. I know that you're usually behind the desk interviewing people. I just watched your Viper Room set, by the way. It was wild, crazy. You had me cracking up.
Dude, thank you very much, dude. I appreciate that.
So let's get back to the basics. So you came to the U.S. on an Armenian flotilla, like Elian Gonzalez. You floated over here, right?
Yes. Okay. It was very much some Moses / Lion King shit. Okay. And that's kind of where it's been at. I am the chosen one, in case anybody wanted to ask, and I'm just very excited about it. And I was born in Niagara Falls, grew up in upstate New York, and it's so funny. I'm like, why did I just say where I was born? Because that's like every security.
So you're
question.
you're not an illegal Armenian immigrant.
No, I'm not. I'm a straight up American, brother. Straight up American.
But you do have Armenian descent, right?
My mother is Armenian, and my grandparents and my great grandparents are from Armenia. My great grandfather saw his entire family mowed down in the genocide. So yeah, man, I'm straight up Armo, homeboy.
Wow. So how'd you get into stand-up? Tell us. I know you probably told this story a million times, but a lot of people on my channel might not know about you. Tell us your story of stand-up.
Well, the truth is, it's like I've always said this. I've wanted to be a comic. As soon as I realized I was something, I existed in the universe. It sounds very stupid, but it's just the truth. I wanted to do comedy from the moment I knew I existed. And I was in this universe, and I wanted to do it before I even knew there was a name for it. And so that's what I did. I got class clown in 6th grade, class clown in 12th grade. And I'm the only one who went to high school with the sole purpose of winning class clown. That's the only thing I wanted to do.
I did too. I won class clown.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I was just like, that meant something. I really went hard in the paint on that. And so that's kind of where I've been. And then I moved to Vegas. There was a little bit of some outside circumstances that gets me to Vegas. One, my dad had been running a psyop on me for years to tell me I should move to Vegas. Little did I know he just wanted to buy a house so he could fly out there and write off on his taxes and he could gamble. Then the coach at the time was Tarkanian at UNLV, and I'm Armenian, and he was like the only other famous Armenian I knew about. So I love basketball. And then I thought it'd be a great place to start stand-up. Now it is. Then it wasn't, but I didn't know any better, so I moved out to Vegas, and that's where I started doing comedy.
Have you heard of the Kardashians? I think they're Armenian too.
You know what? Here's the thing about Kardashian. They are Armenian. Not all of them. Obviously, the big one, the Sasquatch one, she is
Bruce.
She's actually the daughter of the old hairstylist. Like, that chick is a witch, man. And they got witch magic. My buddy, very interesting, is the man who does all the celebrity sex tapes. And he told me that he would get all these, I don't know how dirty we can get on here. I'll clean it up. I'll keep it Christian for your listeners, brother. but he would get these sex tapes of them, and they were at all these what's in the swinger community known as mandingo parties, and they got so rich that they just would buy every tape. Whenever a tape was taken to him, he would contact them, he'd send the money, and he'd get the tape. So yeah, they are Armenian. You know, they did a lot. They actually went to Armenia and they shed light on that whole thing, and which is really great. And like I'm still having my own war against the Young Turks. That's that fat ass that runs that stupid service, that stupid new service.
Chink
trying
yogurt.
to act like, yeah, he's
Chink
a piece
yogurt.
of shit. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. And you know, it's like, for me, it's like words don't really offend me, but if we're going to play this stupid game where everything means something and everything's offended, a Turk running a news agency called the Young Turks is as offensive as it gets. It's just like the cool Nazis news network. It's just, it would never happen.
And he denies the Armenian genocide, right?
Well, he doesn't now because he looks so stupid, but he did. And he created the show back when he denied the Holocaust. So it's time to go. And like, I've had my friends, and particularly some that are Jewish, that are just like, the Young Turks were used and other stuff. And I'm like, well, why don't I use this Native American symbol for peace, which is a swastika, for my logo, because that's what it used to mean in the past. It's like, it's kind of crazy how we pick and choose where we apply political correctness.
Right. So let's get back to stand up. So tell me your first. I remember the first time I tried stand up, and it wasn't really the realm for me, because one night I did really well, and then the next night at amateur night it was like a bomb, and I think that my mind couldn't handle like the constant bomb, because you would have the same routine that would do great for an audience, and then the next night it would bomb at the same routine, right? So how did you have to just stick through just total shit for like 10 years? By the way, you can say the S word on just replace every other cuss word with something. No, I'm joking. Did you have to go through just nightmares of this for like 10 years before you hit like a decent level of where it was like paying the bills and all that?
You know, I tell people this, like, I've been doing comedy since 1992. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's the last 3 years that I've lived comfortably.
Oh, wow.
Before that, it was a grind check to check. You know, I haven't had a day job in, I got to say, like 16 years. I've been doing stand-up comedy full time, but it was always a grind. We're now in a golden era, as much as people want to hate it. But going back to your original question, the first time I did stand-up, I was in Las Vegas, and I joined an improv troupe at UNLV. I didn't know the difference between improv and stand-up at the time. I thought improv was stand-up, and I joined, and I was doing well because I was quick. And this cat named Victor said to me, "Hey, man, you should try stand-up comedy." So I did it, and I wrote my first joke, and my first joke was about, it was a sexual joke. I won't do it here, but it killed, and I really had a great first set. And then, just like you, the next set, I bombed, and I just chased it. It was like chasing the dragon at that point. You're always chasing it, and even though I'm kind of dead on the inside, I still get a little upset when I bomb. But man, you got to go through it. It's the one thing that you just. The stand-up comedy is the most limited art in the world. It's the greatest art and the most limited art. Because one, it's the only art you have to do in front of an audience. There's no other art. You can learn to play guitar at home by yourself. You can learn to sing, learn to paint, but stand-up comedy must be done in front of audiences, okay? And that's basically public speaking in general too, but really stand-up comedy, because you're eliciting a certain response, and that is the limitation of the art. That you have to get a certain kind of response, or else it's like, good luck on that. Good luck getting booked again. And you're kind of limited by their ability to digest what you're saying. The minute a crowd has to think about what you're saying is the minute it gets a little quiet. And that's why a lot of your arena comics, your really big comics, have a very mainstream act. There's not a lot of mental digestion going on.
Right.
You instantly know what they're talking about, and that's how it kills. And kind of, Jay, what I'm going through, because, you know, you and I are in kind of the truth community, and, you know, we all have our own personal, you know, topics that are our favorites. I like the occult as well. You know, I'm really getting into that. I'm trying to move from geopolitics because it's just depressing. But what I'm talking about on my podcast and what the crowd wants here at my stand-up shows is slowly starting to go in different directions, and it's kind of affecting where I want to perform now.
Well, I was going to say some of your jokes are pretty, I would say, requires kind of an initiatory level of knowledge to know about, you know, the conspiracy world. And I mean, even some of those Viper Room jokes were kind of at a high IQ level. So I think, I mean, you're pulling it off well, balancing between appealing to a wider crowd and at the same time having, you know, high IQ type jokes.
Thank you, Jay. I do. That means a lot. It is something I work on. You know, you got to make it very digestible, or else people really, like, a big problem in LA right now is, like, I can almost guess what every comic's act is as they're walking to the stage. And I have this weird thing, Jay, and I'm the only one who cares about this, but it does mean a lot to me. To me, the greatest comics are the ones who could wake up looking completely different the next day. I mean, a whole different person. And could they still do their act? And if they can, that's a great comic. There's a lot of people using crutches.
Carrot Top.
Listen, dude, say what you want about Carrot Top. I'm being honest with you. I went and watched him in the early 90s. That guy's been making $10 million a year.
No, I know. You know what?
Yeah. Right.
Let me tell you a little narcissism story here. So I just got in this habit of comparing on Google Analytics who's more famous than who. And so I started realizing we've blown up pretty good. I'm talking about my circles in the last 3, 4, 5 months. So I'm equal to Bridget Nielsen and Eliza Dushku in terms of Google, YouTube analytics. But I'm not. I thought I would have maybe even beat Carrot Top. I didn't realize how big Carrot Top was. Carrot Top is like 10 times more popular than I would have ever dreamed of. So we're not anywhere near Carrot Top, Roddy Piper, or Gallagher. So if you want to smash some watermelons.
Damn, Gallagher's up there.
Gallagher is still up there. Yes, that's like quintessential boomer humor. However, I did just surpass Yakov Smirnoff. So I'm bigger than
What the country. But see, for me, dude, all I want is whatever kind of comedy you do, I just want you to be a master of it. Master it, whatever it is. And listen, man, I had a conversation with Bert Kreischer, and you know, I said, you know, there's two types of comedians out there, right? There's clowns and I'm gonna say some shit talkers. Sorry for the language, but clowns and shit talkers. And even though I have a preference of one, neither one's better. They're just it's their approach to comedy. Clowns just want to laugh. They'll do anything to get the laugh. The laugh is the most important thing. Shit talkers are the ones who, like, saying what they want is more important than the laugh, and the laugh is secondary to making the point. They got to get the laugh, but it's more about what they're trying to say. And sometimes you have clownish shit talkers, sometimes you have shit talking clowns, but those are the two groups. The clowns work more, shit talkers become legends. That's my honest opinion. And you know, it's just like I like to talk smack. So when we get back to Carrot Top, though that's not my type of comedy, I do really enjoy watching. I mean, I saw him before and I was blown away how funny it was. And dude, the guy's been making, back then was 10 mil, so I don't know what he's making now. And I mean, he's got so much money, he could just
do whatever
he's doing, working out, shooting roids, getting Latina eyebrows. God bless him. Let him enjoy it.
You mentioned improv back when you were getting started. I remember when I was looking into doing it, because I always liked improv, but I noticed that it seemed like a scam. Is that like you got to pay like these fees and it's like a pyramid scheme, and I'm having to learn how to do. I did like improv all through high school. We won awards, and I'm having to pay for this kind of scheme. Was that like a scheme that you just went the stand-up route, or did you think improv was worth it?
I did a little acting, and I realized that I'm not an actor. You need emotional range, and I have 2 emotions: angry and horny. That's about it. And so unless you want me to be an Armenian Uber driver, it's not happening. So the rest of them can be, I don't have the range, so I'm not really an actor. And so I took a couple acting classes, and man, I saw a lot of actors, and I've only seen one actor that I was ever like, wow, that's an actor. That's real acting. And I believe his name is Max Greenfield. He's the guy who was on New Girl, and he's on the new Cedric the Entertainer thing. He was so good. But I got into it, and I was just like, you know what? It's not for me. I'm not an actor. I don't want that. I like creating my own stuff. And, at a very long, I tell this advice to some comedians. At some point, you realize you're not one of the cool kids. And when you're not one of the cool kids, you're not going to be in their cool parties, on their cool projects and all that stuff. So I learned very early I had to make my own path and make my own stuff. And I've always been a producer. I always built brands, and I just really enjoy doing it. And now, after all these years of doing all these shows, it's finally come to fruition. I got probably one of the top shows. I got probably the number 1 or number 2, probably number 1 show at the world famous comedy store called Comedy Chaos. And then I have on my podcast is like doing really great numbers, and it's like, it's fun to be able to talk about good stuff and have a large amount of people to listen to you. So it's blessings.
No, yeah, I remember when the first time you had me on, I came on and looked at your other shows. I was like, holy shit, this guy actually has like a big ass. You had like 50, 60,000 just on the podcast listening like 3 years ago. And now it's up to what, 100, 200,000? That's just on your podcast.
We got like our most insane number was last week, and we got like a 500,000. But
wow.
That was, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was an outliner. That doesn't happen all the time. But yeah, man, we're starting to do good, and it's just like, if you put out stuff with good energy, man, good stuff happens. And that's kind of my whole thing. I have 3 rules to just enter. Just my business is, I hope I can remember them right now, but it's like basically like.
I got 3 rules, but whatever.
But yeah,
I don't know what they are.
I know there's a 3rd one, and I'm gonna forget it. But basically, it's like treat everybody well, from peasant to president. Grind. Don't celebrate your wins, and don't sulk on your losses. Just have a moment, move on, and never get comfortable. Like, that's probably the biggest one of all of them. Never get comfortable. Never assume this is given. Never assume the crowd's always going to love you. Never assume any of that. It's like always, I see so many people, their egos get in the way, or they just get comfortable, and they start slacking off. And for me, like the first one, which is treat everybody well. I mean, the only time I've ever really worked in Hollywood, for the most part, is when friends have hooked me up with shit. I just, casting directors, they don't know what to do with me. They're very lazy people, in my opinion. They like stereotype, sassy black chick, D-bag, white football captain. Like everything's like plug and play, plug and
a cutout,
plug and play. Yeah, and I'm not that guy at all. They have I've been sent out on Mexican roles. I'm like, I'm the farthest thing for Mexican. And then I don't go on Armenian roles because they call me white boy Armenian because I don't look like your average Armenian. They look like vampires. I'm more of a daywalker.
You have this perfectly sort of amorphous face. You could be Mexican. You could be you could be even playing like an Arab dude. You could be. You're the perfect cutout.
Great actor to pull off other. I'm just not that at all. So I learned very early I had to make my own things, and that's kind of how I work. You treat people really well, and I think everything comes back in spades. So it's been going great, man. I love it. I mean, like, look at what you do. Look what I do, man. I mean, like, we're just blessed that we were able to do. I'm much older than you. We were able to be here at the right time when this internet thing just blew up more than it's ever had. Like, one of my best friend out here is this cat named Jordan Lee, and he was like I tell this story to a lot of people, and I think I'm going to do an episode on this. It's not going to be a conspiracy episode. It's just kind of telling people, like, I don't care where you live, the internet is a wonderful place. And, my buddy was, he was an actor, trying to get little bits. He couldn't get anything that he was really happy with. He'd get little things here and there. One day he's on the internet and he sees that his favorite band, its lead singer, just celebrated his 100,000th subscriber on YouTube. So he watches the video and the guy's like, oh, I'm going to put up little videos here, little videos there, little videos there. My buddy decides to do that. And again, he's like most people in Hollywood, just super talented, but just can't get the breaks. And that was like 4 years ago. Now, dude, he just celebrated 106,000 subscribers and he travels the world paid for by his fans and sponsors. That's his job now. And I'm telling you, man, this dude's no different. I mean, he's a hard worker. He's talented, but I think everybody has a talent. And they could, if they just do it, they could do it as well. So it's like, it's a wonderful time to be alive, dude. My tinfoil hat is like the 5th show I did on this feed. That, you know, it started off with one show and they all either ran their course or failed. And then the 5th one was the one that hit, which is tinfoil hat.
Oh, right. Because you did like Punch Drunk Sports.
I still
You still do it? Okay.
I still Punch Drunk Sports, but I had the Naughty Show.
Yeah.
Then I had 2 different rant shows. Then I had this like storytelling show called the International Bad Boys Hour, which was a fun show. But me and the host, who are good friends, again, we had a major falling out. And I'm blessed because that falling out led to me doing tinfoil hat. Gotcha. And I came up with the name because I wanted the name to be like NWA, where it's like you kind of take the most demonized like term and you kind of own it. Yeah. So I go, what is the most demonized term when it comes to conspiracies? And I go, tinfoil hat. So I said, I'm going to own it. And I had Eddie Bravo on the first episode because we've been friends for like 20 years. And I'm like, he's like, hey, I'm like, thanks for coming on my show, tinfoil hat. He's like, what's the name? I go, tinfoil hat. He's like, okay, dude, I whatever. And it's like, everyone told me it was like the dumbest name ever.
The dumbest shit is what works. Yes.
But now it's because people know exactly what it is. So when people go and they're looking at like tinfoil, oh, I know what that is. Bam, they're right there. So it's a blessing, dude.
All right. First question, you said that the person that does the sex tapes is your friend. I've always wondered, is there, because you would know this, is there some of that that's done on purpose? I've always been suspicious that like that is leaked out for publicity. Is that?
Listen, the ones that aren't done on purpose are the ones you've never seen.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
The ones you've seen, they're all done on purpose. Or the people participating in it have all signed off on it because you can't put out a porno without the rights to everybody in it. That's just against the law.
Yeah, remember when what was that? What they call it? The fappening. Remember? It was, oh, Jennifer Lawrence's butt is everywhere now. Don't go look because you're not supposed to. And then like the entire internet is looking for Jennifer Lawrence's butt, right?
That one's interesting because.
But it was supposedly hacked too, right?
Well, I heard that it was sold as a hack and it wasn't a hack. What it actually was that that Harvey Weinstein lost his phone and all that was from his phone. And that they said it was a hack so they could be like demonized and then some guy fucking took the fall for it. But that's what I heard. But, you know, it's very interesting because like, it's so funny because those pictures came out of Jennifer Lawrence. Did they hurt her career? No, they actually helped her career. But what hurt her career was shitting on Trump's fans. That's what hurt her career. And now, like the last couple movies she's done, nobody's going to watch. But I don't think it's very interesting. Women freak out. I actually think it's weird if a woman doesn't have some naked pictures on the internet. It's like, what are you hiding, right? I mean, like that's kind of like where we are as a society. Like it's almost like traded like currency at this point. But it is interesting. Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian. I know Paris Hilton did reshoots, and basically Kim Kardashian's mother told her to do it.
I've heard, this might be rumor, you could tell, maybe you know, is Paris Hilton secretly red-pilled and bathed, or is that not true? Do you know?
I haven't heard any of that. I don't know where she is or what she's doing.
So Hollywood Insider here with us, y'all. We got over 300. We got 337 live nerds with us. We're talking to the Hollywood Big Shot Sam Tripoli of Tinfoil Hat fame. His link is in the bio. You can subscribe to Sam there. Thank you for those super chats. We'll ask Sam some of those questions here in a minute. My next question, Sam, is I watched a video a long time ago that has been scrubbed from YouTube, and I cannot find it, but it was a clip of some stand-ups from maybe like the late 90s. And I could never tell if it was a joke or if they were kind of intimating that maybe it was true. Maybe I have a little bit of autism and I misinterpreted this as something literal, but they were actually talking about like an inner clique of the top stand-ups, and that they kind of collate and decide like who can be in this inner clique. And they literally talked about it like it was a kind of a secret society. Like, unless you go along with this A-list agenda, like, you're not going to be in the A-list comedian clique. Do you think that's true, or is that like, were they joking, or does that sound crazy? You would know, right? I'm not saying you are part of a secret society. I'm just asking.
Do I believe that there are cliques? 100%. 100%. Some are more, some groups rise, and people definitely hang out with certain people. It kind of goes back to what I was telling you about the cool kids.
Yes,
you know,
I've
had conversations with my friends telling them that, listen, dude, you're not one of the cool kids. As soon as you realize that, you can stop trying to kiss their ass and try to get into their thing. So yes, there are in fact people who groups that help each other out very much. There are some people always say, oh, this group runs Hollywood, that group runs Hollywood. What I really believe is the common theme in everything is trust fund kids and private school kids. There's a very powerful Georgetown clique in comedy. All the Ivy League schools. A lot of these people
I've noticed,
are Ivy League
some of
kids.
the SNL writers and they come like directly out of Harvard.
Harvard, right. So that is very real, and like it goes back to what I was saying about, I have a T-shirt that says the Unabomber was right, and like that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like he said that was the rich kids were going to hijack the liberal movement, not the left or social justice, but the liberal movement, and that's what they did. And that's where we're at. So yeah, you see it happen all the time. Now, one thing I want to say to everybody, because I am in this town and I know a lot of the people that everybody gets angry with, and I'm going to tell you something, man. A lot of these people aren't these dark arts people. Like, I just know these people on a very intimate level, and they're not that. There are people that are that. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think a lot of sometimes you hear people, oh, this person's that person's this. They're really not that person at all. And it's kind of funny because I don't know if you get this, Jay, but due to the fact that I have a podcast in this genre that blessingly is doing well, I get called stuff. I had Alex Jones on my podcast, and I was told I was part of a CIA plot.
I'm KGB. I'm KGB.
Yeah.
Every day. So yeah.
Who's saying that? Well, it's always the guys with the podcast that aren't doing that well.
Yeah, right.
And it's just the truth, man. It's just like these guys are just trying to make like a rap battle almost, right? And it's just like, the thing is this: if they were cool, I would have them on my show. I have everybody.
It's always somebody with like 1,000, 2,000 subscribers, typically, who's like every day making "I hate you" videos and trying to expose you. It's just like it's just basic. Like, if you wanted to network with people, at least just be nice, right? Like, you would get a lot further if you would just be nice instead of being an asshole all the time.
Yeah, for sure, dude. It's just like you always hear people on the right and in conspiracy. Oh, the liberals, they just eat each other alive. Well, that's what we do in the conspiracy world. If you are blessed at all to get anything going in this, whether it's your YouTube blowing up or you get a show on TV, you're like, oh, dude, God, he's sold out. He's such a CIA asset. And it's like, no, dude, I'm just more interesting than you. But what I will tell you is that if you're cool, I'll have you on my show and you can meet this whole group of people. And like the people on my show, the fans of my show, the listeners, I call them the swarm because they show up in bunches. And like everybody's always like, dude, I can't thank you enough. Your fans all came and listened. And that's why I love them, because they're open-minded. Yes, do they give me a lot of shit? Yes, and I'm fine with that. I don't mind that them calling me on my shit. But it's just like I'll have almost anybody on because I was a little guy at one point. I remember asking people when I had only a couple people listen to my show to do my show. I know how hard it is to get people on your thing. So I'm all about helping others. And like within the community, I took what I learned from comedy, which was you got to work with others, and applied it to what this conspiracy truth podcast game. So I started asking everybody to come on show, doing swap casts. And I think that's how you grow your shit. It's like, there's enough for everybody. In comedy, you know, it used to be like boxing. There could be only one because there was one hosting gig, one headline gig, one acting gig. Now it's like everybody can get it. So why not work together?
So you have like a PhD. Would you say you're like a PhD in comedy now? Can I ask you, expert comedian? So unibrow bomber, is that funny or not? Could that be a skit? The unibrow bomber.
I mean, if the right line, yeah. I mean, it could be funny.
Okay.
For sure. I do shake my
eyebrow. We're running my ideas by the PhD in comedy here.
I've done comedy I've done it since 1992. I think it was November 1992 I started. And, you know, I mean, like I've done a lot of reps in it. And I love studying the psychology of it and all that stuff. And yeah, man, I think stand-up comics are Jedis. They learn Jedi mind tricks. And, you know, I love the art. It's very limited. It's getting molested by, you know, all these really bad networks that try to dumb it down. But there's this movement, you know, people like Andrew Schultz, people like Josh Wolf, who are all doing their own thing, blowing up without any television, without any Netflix specials. And that's the future right there. Peer to peer, brother.
Yeah. No, that's what, right. That's what we do. That's what we do here at Jay's Analysis. So I have a question from the super chatters here. One of them says that I need to go Jesse Lee Peterson. Jesse Lee Peterson. Why? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in God, Sam? Do you believe in God? So do you know who Jesse Lee Peterson is? The YouTuber guy.
I did a show.
Oh, you did? Okay. So people are saying go Jesse Lee Peterson on him. And they want to know, do you believe in God? We're not trying to convert you right now on the screen here. We're just trying to be faithful to the people who send me their money.
Respect. No, I did Jesse Lee Peterson's. It was a wonderful show. He kept asking me if I'm a Christian man. I'm a spiritual dude. I'm open-minded to everybody. You know, whatever makes you treat people better and be a nice person, I'm all in. I love to study the history of all the religions, where they all came from, all that stuff. I'm open-minded. I think most of the religions have pretty much the same, like, you know, morals in terms of saying how you have to live as a better person. And I think it's my belief, and I don't want to piss your crowd off. It is my belief that books were inserted into each of the major religions that kind of took the religion in a slightly different path. And that was done purposefully to get everybody to fight with each other. That's my opinion. And that some people a very long time ago, very powerful people, have been manipulating all of us to fight with each other. When in reality, we probably all agree with the same thing. We just have different names for it. Just like, you know, Eskimos have 40 words for snow. It's still snow.
You did a really interesting interview on Tinfoil Hat a few months ago, and it was I think it was a girl or somebody was talking about like the inner Vatican. It's called like the Circle and the Knights of Malta, and how that connected with different like pedo networks. That was mind blowing, because I've studied a lot on the pedo stuff in the Vatican for back to like 2004 or 5, and that was all new to me. Like that was all crazy, just dark level information that was blowing my mind.
Dude, all the stuff. The more and more I think about, like, I get a lot of crap from everybody because they don't want to say the Jews run everything, because I really don't believe that. I believe there's even higher levels that if you stop at Jews, because you see a Berg, you see a Stein, and you think it's Jews. And I think there's certain powerful people that wear certain masks.
Would you agree, Luciferian? That's the take I have on it.
Well, I have it as a black cube of Saturn, which is, I think, the real Satanism. I think they created this thing over here, took all the real characteristics of their stuff, put it over here, so everyone went after them. And when reality, it's like black cube stuff. And listen, I'm not an expert on anything. I'm just telling you, like, based on the information I gotten, that the real stuff is Saturnism, and the black cube stuff. And you see it all over the Vatican and Rome now. You see it in all sorts of I mean, like the Talmud is called the Babylonian, which is straight up a reference to Saturnism, the Babylonian oral history of the rabbis. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. These books that are inserted that sends a religion in a different way. And they have just enough so the other religions can get mad. And now we got people fighting with each other all the time. And I'm also going to say something. There's a big push that everyone says Israel runs everything. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think there's a floor above Israel. And I think it's the city of London. I think the city of London runs everything. That's where all the center of the banks are. Queen Elizabeth has to notify them. And there's this huge, when she's coming over, there's this huge process for her just to enter the city of London. Mm-hmm. To me, that's where the power is. Israel, to me, is two things. It's like trying to control the three major religions. It's three things. Try and control the three major religions. It's the center of the flat earth map. That's not my thing. I don't hate it. I support it. I root for it. I would love if it was flat, just to see the chaos that would happen. So, and then Israel is also a land bridge. That's the easiest way to get goods from Asia and Africa to Europe. So it's a very powerful plot of land. And the best way to get people to fight for you blindly is to make it a religious fight. And that's my opinion.
Well, you do have common threads of, like Freemasonry as one example of kind of an international type of institution that relates to the Young Turks. The Young Turks, the Don May, they were connected to Freemasonry. The City of London is the center of world Freemasonry even before the establishment of the State of Israel. And in fact, it was the British Empire who essentially put the State of Israel there, right? Yep. That was at the behest of the powerful Rothschild interests. Later on, the American WASP power structure, the Rockefellers, allied with Rothschild. So I see it as like a confluence of those powers and the older nobility, like you're talking about, Renaissance families, Hermeticist families. This is why the papacy in the Renaissance was so degenerate. It was like they had taken over this institution, turned it into this big kind of global first corporation, basically.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's what's going on here is like old money mixing with kind of new money, and now you've got this influx of like technocrats into the picture, all coalescing into the same kind of pyramid.
Here's a big question that I like that, and I one day I had to spend a day in England because we had missed our flight, and I sat down and I was nice enough to stay at somebody's house because their family was there. And the wife was there, but the husband wasn't there. And he was in finance. And I asked her, I go, can you tell me why the British pound is worth so much? Why is it so much stronger than so many other dollars or, monetary units? You have no natural resources. You don't export anything. And you don't do any. I'm telling you, it's because it's the center of money.
Yeah, it's the land power, or it's the sea power, and the sea power always had an advantage over land powers because the sea power could police the seas, and that's how they could police and control commerce. And so naturally, that would be it's like the old model of the Venetian banking just transferred to the City of London. People have actually written on this, like just transferring from Venice to London. So yeah, I think you're totally right. That's why they have an advantage, and so it's just natural that it would be the world center for that stuff. And by the way, as you know, the City of London, the Vatican, DC, they're independent city-states. They have their own free from international law constitutions. Did you know Disney? Did you know Disney is one? Disney is a city-state?
Disney, I just found out, is one as well. And, it's a joke I do on the show, but it's like, a Nazi, a pedophile, a Scientologist, and a Satanist walk into a bar. What do? They form NASA.
Yeah. They form NASA. That's good.
and you look at like what kind of money grabs. It is my honest belief that when you play ball, when you are a crisis actor, controlled opposition at a very high level, they flood you with so much money that it is impossible for you to come out with the truth. My belief is Magic Johnson never had AIDS. Why is Magic Johnson a billionaire and nobody else? He doesn't sell sneakers. Oh, he bought Starbucks. He bought this. He bought that. Another great example is the twins from the Facebook story, right? That Mark Zuckerberg stole this idea from them. But we also know that the Pentagon had a program called LifeLog, which was going to keep all your data for your whole life. So why not create the story that this autistic lizard guy named Mark Zuckerberg stole this idea from these twins, and now these twins are the first ever billionaire Bitcoin guy. It's like they Ice Cube, Jay-Z, Dre, they just flood these guys with so much money because they play ball and they push an initiative. And that's my goddamn truth. And that's why Disney does so well. That's why the Church of Scientology does, because they are in on this whole NASA bullshit scheme that's going on.
Yeah, I don't personally think that they're actually going to take anybody to Mars, this Mars mission stuff. I've always speculated that like Elon Musk and Richard Branson or whoever, they're going to take people to. This is some kind of scheme of like putting a bunch of money into something, you know, and billions of dollars are going to go into this, and nobody, and it's going to be like, have you ever been to Disney where you do the mission to Mars or some shit like that? Like you'll be in a simulation tank thing, and you'll think that you're going to Mars. Wow, I went to, and you're just at freaking Disneyland or something. And meanwhile, they're going to keep like the $1 billion that you put into it.
I mean, dude, look at this. The Vatican and Disney riddled with pedophilia. Does anything ever happen? Have you ever seen a church close down? Ever? Never.
Some of the dioceses have closed down because they went bankrupt from so much pedo payout, but not many, just a few.
I take that back. I'm wrong on that.
But I mean, compared to the wealth of the Vatican Bank, the Vatican Bank's been run by the Rothschilds for like 300 years.
Yeah, and that's my whole thing. And so let's go back to the Armenian genocide. Why didn't Israel recognize the Armenian genocide forever? And everybody thought it was because of geopolitics, because Turkey was the only ones who were friends with Israel forever. Well, if you want to get into some real shit, let's get into the Synagogue of Satan. When I used to hear that as a child, I used to think, man, that's some anti-Semitism stuff. That's rude. And then I realized as I study this more, that is not what they're talking about.
It's Luciferian, right? It's like a higher level Luciferian thing.
They're talking about Khazarians, dude. And this stuff. See, the thing is this, man. Jay, I don't know how you do it, but when I start studying all this conspiracy stuff, I go, do the pieces fit? How easy do the pieces snap into each other? Is there resistance? Am I having to force this thing? Or do you see a snap, snap, snap? And then I go, who gets the money? Who gets the power? And what does history tell me? If all those things line up, you never know what you're on, but I think you're in the right direction, okay? So we take a look at Khazarians, right? The famous Khazaria and the famous war between them and the Russians, right? And how all the countries around Khazaria teamed up and whooped that ass, right? They whooped that ass, and they made them change their religion. And I believe that religion was Saturnism, okay?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Gotcha. Well, we got 400 live. Welcome, everybody.
They made them stop.
No, that's right. We got 400 live. We're talking to Sam Tripoli, our friendly Hollywood hotshot comedian, who is the host of the Tinfoil Hat podcast. He's going deep, homeboy, getting me a little nervous, starting to sweat. He's talking about them topics that make us all sweat. So Sam,
let's finish this talk. Let me just finish this.
Okay, go ahead.
Khazarians. Why does the international banking cabal work with China but not Russia? Khazarians, dude. They're both communists. They both do the same thing.
Well,
why is it?
I could tell you that from geopolitics. Maybe not the old line esoteric stuff, but modern China was set up by the global elite of the West.
Why though? Why are they working with China and not doing the same thing with Russia? And I understand China's population's bigger, but big is big. Why aren't they doing it with Russia? And I think it's old Khazarian fights. They hate Russia. The Red Scare, Abraham Lincoln, about how Alexander II came in and backed up Lincoln in the North-South War. Mm-hmm. So just to hear this out. So Khazarians, we're talking Rothschilds are Khazarians, okay? So now we go to Khazarians. Who are the Young Turks? Young Turks were Khazarians. And when you go farther back, Khazarians were Turkish.
Right.
At the farthest back, they're Turkish. And who formed Israel? The Rothschilds. So that's why. Because at the highest levels, it's Khazarian shit. And at the farthest back level of Khazarians are Turkish Muslims, man. That is it. So when you hear people say, oh, it's Muslims around the world, I mean, that's some really deep shit far back. Again, I think it's Saturnist, but that's my honest opinion on why Israel never recognizes the Armenian genocide. What do I know?
Well, there's different camps there, and so some of them, for example, Sephardic and the other, like the Ethiopians, are mad because of the preference that's given to other groups. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely something that goes back in terms of bloodlines to way back. There's a great book on this called Mystical Imperialism by Gould and Fitzgerald. I interviewed them a few years ago. They did a screenplay for Oliver Stone one time, which actually deals with the history of what you're talking about. Now, they talk a little bit more about Afghanistan, but it gets into like the history of Turkey too, because yes, there was at one time the Khazars were in the region of Turkey. So I don't doubt that, but I'm just saying, like, from a modern geopolitical perspective, it was the OSS and the CIA that trained Mao's guerrillas. Did you know that?
Yeah, my opinion is that the Vatican runs all the intelligence services, and the Jesuits
they're like the CIA. They're actually very close to the CIA.
And if you take a look at this, Jay, this is my honest opinion. If you take a look at most of your crime organizations in North America, South America, and Europe, they all have a very Catholic background. Italians, Latins, Irish, all Catholic. So I think the Vatican controls both sides. And that someone like El Chapo didn't run jack squat. He was just a district manager.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, on your own show. Come on, Jay, listen to me.
I got a question. All right. What was the worst, craziest, and it could be two different ones, it could be the same one, stand-up experience you ever? I always love hearing the stories from stand-ups when they tell their worst experiences. I know you're going to have one.
Dude, every night is a war experience for me. Okay?
No, the worst. Like the worst, like people throwing chairs at you, beating your head.
I've had a couple of them, man. So one, I'm going to tell two stories real quick. The worst bomb in my life that caused me to get sober the first time, it was after 9/11, and Vince Vaughn calls me. He's like, hey, I want you to do this comedy tour with me. I'm like, cool. And I hung out. I'd known Vince Vaughn, and Vince Vaughn is so beyond talented. It's unbelievable. Like, he used to come to the store and just do improv with comics and just light them up. Like, he was so fast. And he called me and he's like, hey man, 9/11 happened. And I go, yeah, I heard. And he goes, we want to do a fundraiser for the troops. And I'm like, oh, great. He goes, so he's shooting Wedding Crash that time. He's like, hey dude, I want you to come and do this show in Dewey Beach, Delaware. And so we fly out. I'm a heavy drinker at this point. I'm like, because my career isn't going as well as I wanted at that moment. And so I'm like really drowning my feelings in alcohol. I could drink for free at the Comedy Store. At this time, the Comedy Store was dead, and it was just nothing but booze, drugs, and sex. It was a wonderful time. It was the worst. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And so he calls me out, and like I'm telling you, for one day in my life, I felt like must have felt like to be a Beatle, because You're with Vince Vaughn in Dewey Beach, Delaware. Nobody goes to Dewey Beach, Delaware. Vince Vaughn goes, women, I'm not lying to you, Jay, and I was like very young at this time. We were on a bus. Women were leaving the guys that they were walking down the street with to jump on the bus. And if you're like a chick in Dewey Beach, Delaware, and you got a shot at the title, Vince Vaughn, you're going to take it. How many more shots you got like that? So we go there. Now, he does this thing, and it's like Vince Vaughn's support the troops. It was first come, first serve. The doors of the bar open up at noon, and it was sold out instantly. The show wasn't until 8 o'clock. So people were drinking there all day. The show starts. Vince goes up. Ahmed Ahmed goes up. And this is after 9/11. You just introduced a guy named Ahmed Ahmed. Has a weird set. I go up, and I'm doing well. And I'm just getting heckled by this chick in the front row. And she's like, you're not funny. Get off stage. I go, listen, lady, shut up and go make out with your cousin, right? And turns out she's there with 70 people. And they just turn on me quick. And to this day, I still remember anytime I hear, sha-na-na-na, na-na-na-na, hey, goodbye. I get chills because that's what the whole crowd was singing to me.
Yeah.
And I called it a day. I had this very famous bit called A Stripper in a Wheelchair. I closed on it. I got out of there, and it was a great night. The second time that was a weird night that started out bad and ended up well. You know, the Hard Rock in Las Vegas is being taken down. It's the buildings there, but it's no longer going to be the Hard Rock. It's going to be the Virgin Airlines Hotel. And so I had a lot of great memories at that place. We used to do a lot of the naughty shows there. And so there was a show there. It was called Beecher's Madhouse. And it was the greatest hell gig you could ever play. The greatest hell gig, man. You got like $2,500 for 10 minutes. And like, I break down comedy pay in the sex worker levels, right? Like in LA, you'll do like a set for $10. That's crack whore money, right? Then you get some where you get like $300. That's hooker money. Then you get 10 minutes, $2,500. That's high-end escort money, right? So you're making big dollars. So I get called by Beecher, Jeff Beecher, who's a good friend of mine. He calls. He's like, buddy, I want you and Steve Byrne to do this big show. We have the E channel coming. We're doing a show for them. And I'm like, oh, great, cool, let's do it. I'm like, I show up. So it's a big night. Beecher would open the doors at like 6 o'clock. The show wasn't until 8, and it would pack out, and people were just drinking. And it was an insult on your senses. It was just nothing but like flamethrowers, African dance tribes, midgets, you know, the four horsemen of a bad comedy show, basically, right? And it was for an hour just bombarding these people. So just know, like, about 3 or 4 weeks before this, Bill Burr had famously bombed, like booed off stage. Booed off stage. So I remember talking to him like, yeah, I heard about Bill. And, you know, I love Bill Burr. He's like one of my top comics. I think he's one of the top 4 best comics right now. It's Joe Rogan, Dave Chappelle, David Tell, and Bill Burr are all the 4, the Mount Rushmore right now. So we were talking about, and they're like, listen, man, we learned that, like, once you start to lose them, you have to cheerlead the girls. Just start cheerleading the women, right? Just tell them how hot they are. You want to party, just cheerlead the women. So the show starts. Baba Booey from the Howard Stern's there. I'm such a huge Howard Stern fan. I'm not happy that he interviewed Hillary Clinton. I thought that was kind of some base stuff, and I'm not happy about it. But, you know, I loved Howard Stern, so Baba Booey was there. And so the show goes up. Steve Byrne goes up first. I don't know why he had Steve first, but he had Steve first. And then it was my turn. And right before I'm about to go up, they stop me. They're like, hold on. Paris Hilton wants to go talk. I'm like, what? Paris Hilton wants to go up. And this was at the height of her power. Like, she was never more popular than when she was at this moment. And she walks out, and you would think Nelson Mandela was just let out of prison the way the people cheered this woman. I mean, dude, they were just like singing and dancing. And she walks out, she's like, "Hi, everybody. Isn't this awesome? I love Beecher. You guys gonna have fun? All right, thank you." And then they're like, "Okay, welcome Sam Tripoli." And dude, I walked out, and the feeling, to understand what this room felt like, for the first time, I felt I could touch sound. Like, it was so loud in there, I could touch it. I could, like, you could feel the sound on you was so loud. And I start to do my act. And all of a sudden I hear, boo. And I go, what? Boo, 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 boo. And I'm like, oh no. And then he started booing. And I'm like, oh fuck, survive. Sorry, I swore. Survive. So then I go, okay, start just cheerleading the chicks. Hey guys, how hot are the chicks? Ladies, you're gonna have fun tonight. Who's gonna party hard? And I turn it around and I end with a standing O. And I walk over there like I just walked in on a ghost hooking up with my mother. I have fear on my face. And everybody who works there just ran up to me going, "Dude, we've never seen that before. Somebody getting booed always gets booed off stage. You got a standing O." And that was like the night. It was like, that was one of the, I've had other crazy ones. I've had people swing on me, punch me. I got heckled by a guy who at one time was banned from the state of California for a year.
Banned from a state?
Me, and the only
I know you could be banned from a state for a year.
And I challenged him to a sexy dance competition, and I won. I survived that, so I've done all that, dude.
Wow.
All that. It's a crazy thing. It's like, it's a crazy, crazy gig, comedy. It's so interactive, and now with social media and YouTube where everybody can comment on everything, it's gotten even crazier.
Yeah. Have you had any stalkers? I've had a couple stalkers.
Yeah, I just have sex with my stalkers and then they leave. It's kind of like when they smoke cigarettes. You catch your kids smoking cigarettes.
So when they find out the reality is not what they thought, they're like, "All right, fuck, I'm out of here."
I keep hitting it. They're like, "Stop calling me."
Yeah.
You know, so that's
now you're stalking the stalker. Yeah, meta.
Yeah.
Right.
Where are you? Let's look. No, but nothing really. I don't know, man. I think I'm too dumb to stalk. You know, everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's an idiot. And he can't pronounce anybody's name." So like, I just go with it.
What do you have any insights on the Epstein stuff? I know you were covering that. Anything, any info from the Hollywood side you want to let us in on?
I don't think he's dead.
You don't? Okay.
No.
Okay.
I don't think he's dead. Everything indicates it. I mean, have we ever seen his face straight on? Have we seen his face? Have you? I mean, like,
no,
everyone says like there's an autopsy of his face. I'm trying to find it. Where's his face? We never see it. We see this bloated head being wheeled into this thing. It looks like a high school mascot.
Yeah. Like
somebody's like, "Hey, welcome to Saskatchewan Epstein's," right? This big head doesn't fit anybody else. None of the autopsy. He gets buried in a unmarked grave next to his parents, and now they had to move the parents because, dude, it's all BS. I don't think he's dead. People think, listen, in my opinion, Epstein was above the Clintons because of blackmail, like in the power structure.
So,
I think he was above. If anybody had him killed, and I don't think they had him killed, it was Queen Elizabeth, because he's trying to hold off that Prince Andrew stuff that's just blown up in their faces. But I don't think he's dead. Nothing shows me he's dead.
Okay, but doesn't it seem like 2019? 2020 is probably going to be just as crazy. But from my vantage point, 2019 was like the year where all of the crazy conspiracies that I've hammered on for so many years were all just vindicated out in the open. Because I've talked about Hollywood. I wrote 2 books on cults in Hollywood way before Epstein. I've been blogging about it for 10 years, doing interviews on that topic. I talked about MK Ultra for years and years and years. And then NPR puts out a big piece basically saying, yes, everything that you thought was bad about MKUltra, it was all true. Yes, they were torturing and they were creating altars. And yeah, it's all true, even though for 10 years we've been saying that it was a crazy conspiracy theory. So basically 2019 was like the year of vindication, right? All of that stuff, I've been talking about the Vatican for years. All this stuff comes out with the Pope doing his Pachamama Amazon Synod where he's blending all the religions together, all this occult stuff. It all comes out in 2019. So now we're in this weird kind of like, everybody knows that conspiracies are real, but now everybody's just like, yeah, but we don't really want to talk about it because they're afraid of whoever they're around being ostracized by whatever crowd they're in, even though everybody knows the conspiracy stuff is all real now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think tonight, everybody got red pilled on the Epstein day. We are more right than we are wrong.
Right.
I openly admit when I'm wrong. I'm not here to be right. And I always say that the problem with the world is people want to be right instead of do right. And do right is admitting when you're wrong. I'm wrong. Like I said, David Hogg's grandfather started MasterCard. He didn't. That's a different hog. I admitted I was wrong. I'm wrong. But we're more right than we are wrong. And the reason people don't want to get involved is because when you start to follow conspiracies, you start to realize that you're either part of the system or you're allowing the system to happen, and people don't want to do that. Their careers are going well, they're making good money, and they don't want to rock the boat. Or they don't want to believe that the world that they brought in, the world that they brought their kids into is that bad. So they'd rather believe in this pro wrestling BS that is U.S. politics right now. And that way, and then all I have to do is occasionally turn on Rachel Maddow or Fox News. And the thing that cracks me up about the conspiracy world is how they seem to think Fox News now is this kind of like water walker news agency when they don't want to take a look at like all the BS that they helped push during 9/11. They were a big part of lying about all the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and all that stuff. Tucker Carlson, who seems to be everybody's darling, had a giant say in the, I think it's George Webb, right, with the CIA. I always mess up his first name, but, and demonizing that reporter who broke all the Iran-Contra cocaine sales stuff. So it's we're more than right. I mean, people want to listen. People are slackers. They love to turn on news, and that's them being interactive with the process. When they actually have to watch and think, and we go back to comedy. The less people have to think, the bigger the laugh, the bigger they act. And people don't want to think. That's why political correctness was so easily consumed by the masses, because they instantly told you who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, and you didn't have to think. And now people are realizing the Me Too movement was BS, Black Lives Matter was BS, okay? All that stuff was funded by dark arts people trying to get us all to fight with each other. And Virginia was a great example of how they tried to cause something, and the internet was so much bigger than them, and everybody went there looking for something to pop off. And the reason you can't pop off there is because everybody's got guns. Everybody had a gun.
Yeah.
And even the controlled opposition people are like, dude, I'm not starting to fight. Everyone here's got a machine gun. And dude, and I think what they learned, and this is why I love Virginia, is because if you watch all these riots going over all over the world, who's always there to crack skulls? The police. But I feel like Virginia realized that the Second Amendment is big to guys in law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to want to go there because guess what? In the military, in the police department, they love their country. And when you're telling them, take away your rights to guns, take away your freedom of speech, they don't like that. And you'll always have some psychopaths that are going to do it. But they learned in Virginia, police department is not going to be a part of this.
Yeah. Were you in a toothpaste commercial or something like this? This headshot of you with these glowing white teeth, you literally look like some kind of Like you look fresh, bro. Like you have the
Which
freshest
one is
breath
this,
I've
the
ever
gay
seen.
magician shirt? The one where I look like a gay magician?
Yeah, there's like this
Yeah.
glowing blue presence and sparkly teeth, and that's
Yeah.
like.
There was a time I actually was trying.
Can you take super chat questions? Is that okay?
Yeah, whatever.
Are you? Because we got some people that are going to try to challenge you, not on theology,
Please.
So let's see. Something or Gurkovac, something something I can't pronounce for 10 RKs. I don't know what currency that is. Jason Ray, $10. Is Mr. Rogan a gatekeeper? What do you think, Sam?
What's a gatekeeper? I mean, I think he's probably the most powerful dojo since Johnny Carson. I know Joe on behind closed doors. He's not any different than he is on his show. I think people, I think that show, when people can't get on it, drives them crazy.
They go mad. Yeah, get mad.
They get really angry. My opinion on the Joe Rogan experience is this. I love Joe. Without Joe, there were times I'd be homeless. Like when him doing my show, he's the only way I pay my rent. So I will always go to bat for Joe. My opinion is, listen, man, Joe, the things that Joe push, probably 70% of the country thinks. He just happens to have a very high profile show that makes everything he says fucking under scrutiny, right? Excuse my language, Joe. I'm really sorry. I think Joe Rogan is one of the smartest people in the world. I think he's one of the smartest businessmen in the world. And my opinion is that when he saw them basically deplatform Alex Jones, he was smart enough to realize he has a cash register. And why push it? And I have no problems with that at all. I can only say for myself, I don't know what that's like to be in that seat because I say dumb stuff all the time. And I don't know what it's like to have 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people mauling over every word that comes out of my mouth. And you know what, man? I don't know if he meant it to get that big, but that show is big, and you'd be an idiot to try to do anything to derail that train. And if you don't think that's right, why is Alex Jones sneaking? And I love Alex Jones. I've done a show. He's been nothing but a gentleman to me. You know, everybody thinks he has his own thing with Israel. He can think, you know what, dude? I'm getting sick and tired of everyone's a CIA asset.
I know every time you do an interview, that's all people want to ask is like drama questions to try to get you in drama.
No, I'm fine with it. Dude, Jay, I don't mind it, but because I love Joe Rogan and he's done more for me. I would do the exact same thing Joe Rogan's doing right now, and that's my opinion, because he's smart. This thing is like nothing else.
Well, I've listened to you on Rogan. That was good stuff. You think you'll ever go back on there? Is that?
I don't know,
maybe?
man. I haven't been on in 6 years, and to be honest with you, I let it go. It is what it is, and I kind of said, you know what, man, he should only have on people he wants to interview, and for some reason, what I talk about might not interest him, and I just gotta let go. You know, it'd be great to go on. I would lie to you if I said I didn't want to go on. I'd love to go on, but you know what? It's not happening. And if my life was in the crapper, I might be a little bit more upset, but I'm too busy enjoying all the wonderful gifts that the simulation's given me. So I just enjoy what I'm in, and you know what? If it happens, it happens.
What do you think about like weird kind of out there comedians? Like I've always liked guys like Stephen Wright, Andy Kaufman. What's your view on that kind of comedy? Like
I said, man, I just want you to master something. And master, and whatever you do on stage, be a master of it. And I loved all of them. You know, I think for a little time, and we're seeing that kind of go away, these nerds hijacked comedy, and they tried to make it into this alternative comedy. And the alternative comedy is not comedy. And they were trying to make that, so they could participate. Because the best way, it's like, if you can't compete. See, here's my opinion, Jay. People want a world that plays to their strengths and outlaws their weaknesses, okay? That's how people operate, and that's what social justice warriors do. They outlaw anything they're not good at or scares them or makes them look bad, and they prop up everything that they're great at. And they're just afraid of competition. They don't want, I heard something really great the other day. Watch out when people get preferential treatment, because equality seems like disrespect after that. Being treated equal when you've been getting preferential treatment seems like a real disrespectful thing. And it's just the truth. I got in a fight with a guy the other day, and I'm not going to say his name because we made up, but he made a bet with my friend. He lost the bet instantly. And I go, dude, you lost the bet. And he goes, shut up, Jew. I go, what? He goes, shut up, Jew. I go, I'm Armenian, you black. And I said it because, listen, dude, you want to call racial slurs? I'm going to call racial slurs. I ain't afraid, dude. The rule, screw your rules. If you think you can say one thing and I can't say, when I write comedy, Jay, I go, could a black comic say this? Could a gay comic say that? Could a woman say this? And if the answer is yes, I'm going to say the joke. I'm going to say the joke. You don't tell me what I can say or what. The only thing that they can do is not laugh. And if they don't want to laugh, that's fine. Now, if I'm on stage and I'm 5 minutes or 8 minutes into a set and nobody's laughing, I'll hijack the plane and fly it into a building. We can do it however you want to do it. I don't care. I'm punk rock, dude. I'm punk rock on stage. Dude, I love rattling the cage, and that's who I am.
What do you think about weird comedians though? Like, what do you think about? Remember Tim and Eric? What do you think about Tim and Eric?
Tim and Eric were so good they changed Hollywood, and everybody tried to do it, and they just can't. And DJ Dog Pound is the editor of that whole thing, and it was so smart and it's so good, and everybody tried to do it, and they looked awful. Forever, comedians tried to do Tim and Eric stuff, and it looked so bad, and it didn't work. They're masters. Again, master. Be a master of whatever you do, and Tim and Eric are masters.
Josh Baker became a member. Thank you, Josh Baker. Welcome. Jason Ray. Sam will BS. Jason Ray says Sam's a BSer. Uh-oh. I guess Sam's going to quit now because somebody calls you a BSer.
I'm all cool BS. I am.
Vonzo the journalist. Jason Burmis has been going in on Conor. Who is Conor?
Yeah.
Conor McGregor? Who's Conor? I don't know.
Yeah, Conor McGregor.
So you've had Burmis on, right?
Yeah, I love Burmis.
Yeah, Burmis, good guy.
Burmis is a great guy. When my YouTube channel got taken down, Burmis was nice enough. He did a couple videos on my situation. And I love Burmis. Burmis has his views. I have my views. And, but that's fine. We are more alike than we're different. I love what he has to say. I have different opinions on different stuff. But I love Jason Burmis, and I love what he does, and he's a great guy. And he's been really going hard on Conor. And to me, like Conor McGregor, kind of goes back to all the stuff that you've been talking when you were talking about 2019 was this giant red pill. And how we've all been talking that this Me Too movement is just a psyop to get us all to fight with each other. Right. And a great example of that is Conor McGregor. These rape charges that ESPN won't even mention, when for the longest time, all they did was anybody who accused anyone famous of anything got airtime on ESPN. And it was just to get us to fight with each other, to weaponize women against men. Does sexual assault happen? 100%. But what was the Me Too movement about? Elitist white actresses trying to get press on stuff.
Right, totally.
Right? Because none of them said anything about rapid pedophilia in Hollywood.
Exactly.
We didn't hear one thing.
Yeah.
So it's all psyop. So yeah, exactly. I think I love Jason Burmis on that, and I agree with him, man.
Yeah.
The Conor McGregor, like nobody's saying anything, is just an example. There's two rules: rules for people who make the money, and rules for people who don't.
Right. Yeah. No, I didn't even know that Burmis was talking about this. Last thing I like Burmis. I have followed his work. I think his stuff that when he was doing some really good stuff on Epstein, that was the last Burmis videos I saw, and I think he's buddies with Aaron and Melissa. So shout out to True Stream Media and to Burmis. But I haven't seen anything to do with Conor McGregor, so I don't know about this. But toe lock $5. NASA was an inside job. I believe that. I've been saying my take on NASA is that it's a front for like the black projects that the deep state does in relationship to like, real high tech, DARPA level stuff. NASA's like a B movie front piece set that's out there to distract you with all this BS. What's your take on NASA, Sam?
I think NASA, climate change, and nuclear weapons are all money grabs.
Are dinosaurs fake and gay?
They're gay for sure, but I don't know if they're fake.
The ones have the things like this, right? The velociraptors are running around like this.
Fake dinosaurs are along the lines of flat Earth, where it's like, I don't know if I'm ready to just. I mean, like, it goes against like everything you were taught forever. That's so hard to digest that you're like, do I really want to go there? And I don't know, so I root for it. The thoughts of dinosaurs being fake is so crazy to me. But when you actually study it, it's like, oh wow! I saw the best meme, and it put the whole dinosaur argument in perspective for me. It goes like, George Washington died in, like, let's say 1850, right? The first dinosaur wasn't discovered till 1875. Right. That means George Washington didn't know about dinosaurs. Like, to me, that's bizarro. Are you telling me nobody did very deep dive digs and found bones? That's the stuff that I'm like, I'm forcing stuff into holes to fit what I want to do. Coincidence, and that's what everyone does with 9/11, Epstein, sexual pedophilia. Like, they refuse and they just start accepting. They're always accepting coincidences.
Okay, so Sam, hold on now. So that was a good answer, a good political answer there, nice bureaucratic answer, giving props to both sides. But I know you do a lot of talks about aliens. Sam, are aliens fake and gay? Come on now. Or you believe in aliens?
Interesting. I had another guy on talk about, because Eddie doesn't believe in aliens. I believe in there's something other than just humans. Mm-hmm. I believe it. So this guy, David West, I believe is his name, came on and was talking about how ET is extraterrestrial, which is extra territory. Could be. I believe in aliens. And are they gay? They do probe ass a lot. I have a whole joke about,
That's what I says. I know I says the same thing.
I have a joke about how I love Space Force, because now we have a place for our trans friends in the military, right? Because everybody was so upset about trans not being in the military. I'm like, space is perfect for trans.
You can be probed. Yes.
Because you need somebody on that front line who isn't afraid of an anal probing, who actually looks forward to it. You know what I'm saying? And space is super gay. Have you ever watched Star Trek or Star Wars?
That's what I know.
Outfits?
Yes,
is this RuPaul's Drag Race or sci-fi? I don't know.
Sam,
either way,
I can write stand up for you. These are we're on the same wavelength. By the way, is Bigfoot fake and gay too, or is that real? You think that's? I think that's fake and gay as fuck, dude.
I think Bigfoot's real. I think it's multiple dimension. Listen, I believe all of it. I'm just trying to figure out how it can all.
You believe together. Every conspiracy, literally every one of them.
I'm open-minded to it all, and I get yelled at because I don't push back on some outlandish claims on my show. But I don't want that. I want people to come on and say what they believe, and let the listeners decide whether it's real or not.
Okay, so Mandela effect. This one makes me mad because if you were CERN and you had the power to alter the past, like, would you screw with pronouns in movie titles and screenplays? I mean, I just can't stand the Mandela effect. It really gets on my nerves. What do you think about that one?
I'm just open-minded to anything's, it's like that speech, you love me, you really love me. She never said that, but everybody thinks that's what it is, right? It's just weird stuff.
So what's your take on Mandela effect? Yeah or nay? Or you don't know?
I do. I'm open-minded to it.
Stephen Wakefield, $10. Thank you, Stephen Wakefield. Much appreciated. He says we're doing a killer show tonight. We got almost up to 450 live. That's pretty good for Jay's analysis. We're sucking vampirically on the star power of Sam Tripoli tonight to get that 450.
You are welcome.
Jason Ray, he sends $10 again. He says, have Ryan Dawson on and debate him. I was supposed to debate Dawson on a show and he couldn't do it. So don't know if we'll do that debate. Jason Ray again, $2.
Dawson, those are not.
Yeah,
I love Dawson.
No, we were going to debate. We were going to debate theism because he's an atheist. So that's what that was about. It wasn't about any of the conspiratorial stuff. Declan Yearwood for $5. He says, "This is a great show tonight, guys." Well, thank you, Declan Yearwood. That sounds like a fake name. John Guras, $5. He says, "Sam, would you do Anna Kasparian? And you have to be honest."
Oh no, she disgusts me. I'm disgusted by her. I don't even know if I could be in the same room with her. I'm just so, she's like, and she tries to convince everybody that it's like conservatives that hate her, and it's her own community. It's disgusting that you could be on a show. It's like, I see her, actually George Soros is way worse because he participated in it, but it's like, man, when you take a look at Hitler, when you take a look at who Hitler was, who his father was, who his mother was, who his grandfather was, who his grandmother was, who his grandfather was, who basically created the system to tell, to categorize who was where in what concentration camp and who was involved in the Balfour Agreement. It's all the same people, Rothschilds. And, I think people need to understand that,
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking. Her, yes. Because she called out Roosh one time, and Roosh joked about her age, looking at her age, and she didn't take that too well. I know who we're talking about now. Okay, I had to think for a minute who she was.
I thought that's the chick from the Young Turks, right?
Chick, exactly.
Yeah, she disgusts me. Yeah, she gives me an anti-boner.
All right, wow, 450 almost. This is one of my top. I think the only time we topped this was Styx and Matt Dillahunty. We got up to 1,000 with Styx and Matt Dillahunty. But Sam, you're like my third or fourth biggest live stream guest. Thank you for coming on. This has been a killer talk. We got a lot of good super chat questions. I don't know if we have any more haters, any more people bitching about Sam Tripoli, ready to ruin Sam Tripoli tonight. I don't see it, but subscribe to Sam. I've got him linked below. Be sure and watch his Viper Room set. By the way, is that the Viper Room with the Johnny Depp Viper Room?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Just go to samtripoli.com and you can see both. I broke it up in two parts. You can see them both. Awesome.
Yeah. Definitely funny stuff. Thank you, Sam, for coming on. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for helping me out and having me on 3 or 4 times. I loved it. It's been a great chat.
Anytime, all the time. Anytime you got something to talk about, we'll do it, brother.
All right.
Thanks for everybody for taking it easy on me in the chat boards. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Take care, brother. Bye.
Bye. All right, thank
Call
you.
ended.
Wow, that was a great show. Props to our buddy Sam Tripoli for coming on. And by the way, we are going to have Boiler Room tonight. So Boiler Room will continue, not right this minute. Give us about an hour and a half, and Boiler Room will be back on tonight. Don't know who's coming on. Maybe Tristan will be with us tonight. But shout out again. Thank you, Sam Tripoli. And be sure and subscribe to Sam and check out his great videos. Now, last time I was on with Sam, woo! Hung Young Terrorist. That chick was buck wild. So you can, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see my my last interview with Sam. It was a popular show. We had a good audience. I think probably had, between the YouTube show and the audio podcast, probably had 100,000 views on that at least. And then I know Medicare is streaming right now, so we're gonna bleed some people over to Medicare because he started up. But be sure and watch that episode, and the reason I say this, even though her story is wild, buck wild, okay. We got into some really interesting cult topics in that episode because she was in the Holy Hell cult. So I'm going to put that in the chat. You can go watch that other interview. The last time Sam had me on about a month ago, 2 months ago, I guess. Wow. Wild topics. But go enjoy that. And thank you guys. Great audience tonight. Be around for Boiler Room in an hour and a half. Peace out. Everybody have a good night.